Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are around the world. Thank you for joining this session. This session on OS 631, Moving Your Brand into Video. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'm a Senior Solutions Consultant at Adobe, and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. Thank you so much for taking the time to join this session. I'm really excited to bring this to you. I want to just touch on what we're going to go through today. I'm going to give you a bit of an introduction, a bit about myself, where I've come from, and then we're going to go into a bit of brand consistency, touch on a little bit of stats about some of the things that I have uncovered when it comes to brand consistency and, of course, inconsistencies. Then we'll go into Creative Cloud libraries and, of course, motion graphics templates inside of Premiere Pro to talk about how you can utilize them to your advantage. I will then touch on AI tips and tricks that I have developed over time that have really helped me in progressing and producing video content inside of Premiere Pro. And then finally, we'll finish on Frame.io, which is our creative collaboration tool, particularly around video for review and approval. Now, just a little bit about me. I started out as a digital and graphic designer. I used to work in one of Australia's leading broadcasting companies in the news department, venturing into sports as well. But what I found there was that I really developed a keen eye for graphic and digital design at the time. But then I evolved and kind of went into motion design. I really wanted to see the relationship of how people would, interact with dynamic media as they are passing it in the street or how they are interacting with it on a daily basis. From there, naturally, I went into video editing and production, and I worked in a couple of corporate roles that focused around internal communications and, of course, external communications, particularly around video. So I would storyboard, come up with the concepts and ideas, and then, of course, move that into the creation as well as shooting the content, whether that be on location or internal, and then crafting the story around editing that video. And then these days, everyone has to have a bit of generative AI under their belt, particularly around Adobe Firefly when it comes to conceptualization and, of course, coming up with new ways in which people interact with content. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about brand consistency, or in this instance, perhaps brand inconsistency. We're going to touch on three main topics here, and that is social media, email marketing, and of course, websites. So, just a little bit about the three. Social media is one of the most primary areas where brands often go off brand. Each platform, things like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they all have a unique audience. This can lead to different tones and styles that might not align with a brand's core identity. Moving on to email marketing, this is another area where brands tend to struggle. Different teams managing email campaigns or ads on platforms like Google and Facebook and Instagram, they may interpret brand guidelines differently, and this results in mixed messages or visuals. And then finally, websites and webinars. These present additional risks, especially with multiple contributors or guest speakers. Without proper oversight, these can stray from the brand's intended look and feel. And internal communications and customer support interactions also risk inconsistency when teams lack unified templates or even training. So let's go through some of the stats for each of those topics. We'll start with social media. Now, brand inconsistency can lead to a 23% decrease in revenue on average. And inconsistencies, particularly on social media, can confuse customers. This can weaken the brand's identity. And according to a 2022 report by Forrester, 47% of brand decision makers believe that inconsistent messaging across social channels is a top reason for reduced brand value. And what about email marketing? Well, a 2021 report found that 45% of marketers struggled to keep brand consistency in email marketing. This is due to the fact that multiple teams or agencies are involved. And this leads to mixed tones, styles, and designs that don't match the brand's identity. And 56% of marketing leaders find managing brand consistency difficult when campaigns are handled by different teams or external agencies. And finally, what about websites and, of course, webinars as well? A 2023 report by SEMrush indicated that 53% of brands experience inconsistencies in tone, style, and messaging in their blog content. And these are primarily due to contributions from different teams or freelancers. And 60% of organizations reported inconsistent internal communication styles due to a lack of unified templates or guidelines. Now, all of these reports and stats have a few things in common: inconsistency, confusion, and misalignment. And all of these combined can dilute a brand's identity. This is where Creative Cloud libraries and motion graphics templates come into play. They can help ensure every piece of content reflects the brand's true identity. So let's talk a little bit about Creative Cloud libraries and motion graphics templates. We'll start with libraries. These are a tool in Adobe's Creative Cloud that lets users easily store and organize and share design assets across different Adobe apps. This helps teams work more consistently and efficiently on projects. And then motion graphics templates in Adobe Premiere Pro are ready made. They're customizable. This ultimately saves time and ensures brand consistency. So let's break it down. Creative Cloud Libraries has about 7 key pillars here, right? So literally, first of all, it is a centralized asset management tool. And it allows you to store assets, things like colors, character styles, logos, graphics, images. This can all be stored in one centralized location, that being a library. It has cross-application compatibility, which means that in any Creative Cloud application, you can access Creative Cloud libraries. And this ensures consistent design elements. From a collaboration perspective, Creative Cloud Libraries lets team members or clients share and collaborate on the same assets. So you can create a Creative Cloud library and share that with your team members so that they have access to the right content and assets on hand. With real-time updates, you can update an asset that is in a shared library, and wherever that asset lives, it will instantly reflect across all projects and apps that is using it. This comes in handy when a company updates their logo and it sits across multiple forms of collateral. Now, from an organization perspective, assets can be organized and grouped by either type or folders within a library. Of course, you can access Creative Cloud libraries from anywhere on any device as long as Creative Cloud is installed on that device. And finally, our integration with Adobe Stock. This allows users to simply search for stock images, videos, audio, whatever it may be, right within Creative Cloud libraries that is in an application. So let's talk a little bit about motion graphics templates. You can use them for things like titles and lower thirds, where you need to add a stylish text animation to introduce sections or even display particular types of information. And transitions, these can be pre-animated transitions and they can sit between scenes or clips. Things like callouts and labels that you need to highlight a specific part of the video, this is where motion graphics templates can help with that. And of course, social media overlays for things like subscribe buttons or an engagement prompt. Okay, so let's start in the Creative Cloud desktop application. This is your hub for all things Creative Cloud, where you can find applications, tips and tricks, as well as Adobe Stock, as well as your Creative Cloud libraries. So let's start there. Over on the left-hand panel here, you can see I've got Home, Apps, and Files. We'll go under Files, and this is where all your files live, things that have been shared with you, and of course, your libraries. So what we're going to do here is create a Creative Cloud library from scratch. And it's as simple as going over to New Library. If I click on that, I then have to just name my library. We're going to call this one Max 2024 to keep with the theme. I hit Create. Now, once I hit Create, you'll see here that there is nothing in this library, absolutely nothing. And this is where I need to start populating that library. Also, I've created this, I haven't shared this with anyone yet. So therefore, no one can see anything yet, but you can share it directly from here. Now, if I click on the share button, it actually accesses your Active Directory. And you can see here, I can add people to this library. I can give them two forms of access, whether that be edit access or a view access. The difference between the two is basically if I give them edit access, that means that they can add and remove files and assets from the library. If I give them view, they can use the assets, but they cannot add or remove, which is great when it comes to making sure that things don't get accidentally deleted. So I can start populating this straight from the desktop application. But as I mentioned, Creative Cloud Libraries goes across the entire Creative Suite. So why don't we jump into Photoshop where I've prepared something already. So if you can see here, I've got a graphic, and of course, keeping with the theme of Max, I'm using the Max graphic here. But what I've got here as well is my Max 2024 library. Now, this is the library that I just created. So if I click on that, it'll bring up, again, nothing in that library. But we can do a number of things from this. So if I wanted to, I can simply grab the correct colors and patterns and other instances from this graphic and put that directly into the library. So let me show you how to do that. So what I can do is come directly to this plus button down the bottom and click on Extract from Image. Now, before I do that, I can even click on Foreground Color or Graphic, and that will basically add a graphic to the library. So let's do that. Click on Graphic. It'll add that graphic to the library, just like that, real quick. Let's grab the foreground color as well. And not only does it bring in the foreground color, but it brings in the hex value as well. So we can obviously see the RGB and the value of that in there. But if I wanted to grab more elements from this graphic, I can click Extract from Image, and this is utilizing Adobe Capture to do this. So have a look at this. I can grab patterns, shapes, color themes, gradients, or even type. So here's a pattern, for example. I'll save that to my CC libraries, and I can play around with this. I can have a look at other types of patterns. I can scale that up or scale it back, whatever it may be, and then add that. Now, as you can see here, as I'm doing this, I'm simply populating my library. This could be the brand elements that are associated with this brand. I'll save that to the CC library as well, and then just go ahead and grab a few other elements such as the color themes. And you can determine this by the mood as well, whether it be bright, whether it be muted, whether it's deep or dark. And this is obviously utilizing artificial intelligence to find those elements within the graphic itself. I can, of course, move these around if I wanted to and create my own color theme. And then moving across to gradients, I can add this in as well, but perhaps I want to add more stops to that. So I can obviously do that as well and create my own gradient if I needed to. Now, when it comes to type, I can actually find similar fonts based on the type that's in the graphic. So if I click on Find Similar Fonts, it will go through the notion of finding similar fonts in order for me to utilize. So I might just grab this one and this one. So I might just grab the top one and save that to my libraries. So why don't we close this out and go back to our desktop application and have a look at what's happened here. It's already started populating it, which is fantastic. I can see a number of things here. Now, if I wanted to, I could start populating this with groups, different types of groups, right? And I can add my own group here. I can simply add a group. I can type in color themes, just like that. And then I can start to drag and drop those themes into it. So for example, I can just go color themes like this, drag and drop, and do it that way. But of course, there is a more effective way to do that, and we can group by type. Now, by grouping by type, that means that it will automatically put it in its own groups for us. So here's the color theme, here are the graphics, here are the character styles, and here are the patterns and gradients and so forth. And that doesn't mean that you can't add to it from here. You can always add more. And then, of course, when this is shared with anyone and everyone around, it becomes even more powerful from a collaboration perspective. Now let's jump into Premiere Pro. And you saw how I added all of those elements inside of Photoshop, right? Well, if we come into our libraries inside of Premiere and have a look at my latest library, again, here is the example of cross applications, right? How it goes across to different types of applications. And I can access everything that I need to in here. Obviously, the ones that are grayed out, that means that I cannot use those in this particular application. But things like color themes, character styles, graphics, and things like that, I can obviously use. So here's a quick video that I did last year at last year's Adobe Max. It was a little vlog that I did, and we're going to come back to this in a second. But I want to introduce you to the motion graphics templates component of this now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our Essential Graphics panel. Under Essential Graphics, these are already predetermined motion graphics templates that I can access right now. I can filter these by free or premium, and then I can go through and actually use them, right? So we'll go in and we'll have a look at what's here. So you can see here I've got a dynamic title opener, social media lower thirds, social media elements, transition. Let's just grab the first one, the dynamic title opener. Now you can see blue tick. That means that it's already been licensed in my organization, so I can use this now. So if I click on this, I can actually hover scrub and see what it looks like. And if I click on the next one, I can hover scrub and see what that looks like as well. If I right click on this, I can download this. And if I click on the info, I can see some of the other elements in this. But what I can also do is drag and drop this into my timeline, just like that. Now, obviously, it's not the right format because my video underneath it is it's a bit larger. But of course, we can adjust that. Under Effect Controls, we can just scale that up. $200. Now, by clicking on the motion graphics template, you can see here under Essential Graphics, under Edit, I have all these controls now. And what that means is I can have a look at what I can edit and change. First of all, let's just mute the audio. I'm just going to hit play on this. It has a dynamic title opener, as you can see there. It's got text, it's got color. There's a lot of movement, which is great, right? Because this might suit this really well. So under global controls, again, I can change the position, but text, there's a number of text elements in here. I can actually change those text elements. So if I wanted to, I can change the font, for example, and the name. So let's change the dynamic to Max 2024, and it'll automatically update. Now, let me be clear on what just happened here. Yes, we changed the text, but we have not affected the animation in any way, shape, or form. Have a look at this. If I just scrub, you can see that it immediately honors the animation. All we're doing is editing the text, which is fantastic. Now, if you have a look under Text 01, Max 2024, Text 02, we can say Welcome. I'm getting really inventive today. So we got Max 2024, welcome, and then we can start to change other elements of this. So not only have we done that, but now we might have a look at some of the color controls. So, it's got a bit of a purple theme happening here, but I might want to change that to a red, for example. It might be this red over here. I'll just quickly add that. Or we can sample a color from another area as well. But also, if I wanted to add different media in here, I can do that under media replacement. Now, media replacement basically allows you to swap in and out of media, whether that be static or whether that be video. So in this instance, I've got a couple of different types of video shots in here. So what I can do is I can just drag and drop that directly into the media replacement slot and then hit play on that. And then that showcases that media replacement. If we go over to the next media replacement, I'll grab the next shot, drag and drop, and it just simply updates it for you. And if we go to the last couple, media replacement 03, and then we'll replace 04, and then finally we can replace the logo if we need to. But if we have a look at what we've done so far, let's change this to red as well. Change this to an orange and leave that. So if we have a look at what we've done so far, I'm just going to hit play on this. Before I do that, okay. So there's a way to use pre-existing templates so that you can simply change different elements that have already been predetermined or already created by an existing creator in the world, right? You can obviously drag and drop different instances onto that as well. So if I go back to my browse, I can grab the same one and drag and drop it on, and then I can make changes to that as well, which is also fantastic. So if I come to here, again, I can make those changes. And this really helps with lower thirds. Okay, here are some rapid fire AI features that you can use today inside of Premiere Pro. We're going to start with this video. It's been already edited, okay? We can see that by, if I hit play on this and I have muted the sound, you can see the different cuts inside that video. There are no cuts on my timeline. We can use a feature here called Scene Edit Detection. If we right click on this and go Scene Edit Detection, we can now ask it to apply a cut at each detected cut point. The AI will find those cut points for us. And then we can ask it to create a bin of those subclips. So if I hit analyze on this, the artificial intelligence kicks in. By the way, this is using Adobe Sensei, and it will find those edit points and simply place the cut points in there so that we can go in and create a smaller version of this video, perhaps for social media. And there you go. You can see all those edit points in there. I didn't have to go in there manually with a razor tool and do this myself, right? It's done it for me. But what else it's done is see this folder up here, or this bin. It's created a bin for us with all the subclips. I'm just going to hit the tilde key to go full screen on the project panel here. Now I can view it via list view, icon view, or freeform view. Now, this is a view in which you can see all these subclips. And now I can actually find all the clips or some elements of the clips that I want to use and build out a new video for it. And let me show you how you could do that. I'm going to do this really quick. I might want to grab this shot here, drag and drop. I might want to grab maybe this shot here, drag and drop. Let's grab this clip And we'll grab one more clip, maybe this time-lapse shot here. Okay, now notice how I'm putting it in order as well in how I want this to be displayed. Now again, I can hover scrub and see what's being said in each particular section. But what's great about this feature is that I can actually add in and out points directly from here. So I'm essentially editing before I'm editing. You'll know what I mean. So what I can do here is hit I on where I want the in point to be, and then scrub along and then hit O. And now I can do that for every single clip. Again, let's go I and O. And then if we go I and then O, you get the idea. And let's just say I've done it for all of them. Now I've done the editing phase, or the editing before the editing phase, and I can actually grab this now and create a new sequence from it. So if I grab from the top left, click, hold, and drag. Now if I go right click and then go new sequence from clip, this will actually put it in its own new sequence. And now I can start editing from here. But I've noticed something. I'm going to hit play on this. To get badges. The audio doesn't quite work. And obviously this is where we can actually start to fix things. So I can come over to my link section here. If I click on the link selection, it basically unlinks the audio and the video. You can see how it's done that. I'm going to just click all the audio and delete it all off there. Make sure I click back linked selection because we want all that to be linked. But this brings into play Adobe Stock, and I can actually browse under my Essential Sound panel, Adobe Stock Audio. Now this is great for finding things really fast. So if I just grab my playhead back to the start of this, I can actually search via mood, via genre, or perhaps via filter, and then find something from here. So let's see what type of mood I'm in today. Maybe a dynamic mood. We'll go epic, and let's go dramatic. Okay. Now, as I'm doing that, you can see Adobe Stock is filtering this in real time. I can grab anything from here and drag and drop it into it. Let's have a listen. Let's have a preview for happy, positive R&B. That's great, right? And notice how the playhead is playing. So I'm basically viewing audio or music against my edit before I've purchased it. I can go to the next one. I'm happy with the first one. So what I can do now is I can actually save this to my library, right? I can actually save it to the library that I've been working on, or I can save it locally to a local folder, or I can add it to my project. And in which case I will do that. I will add it to my project, and now I can grab that under the stock audio media. Now, once I do that, drag and drop it into my timeline, but now we have an issue. The issue is that my audio is way too long for my video. If I come back to this and cut out the last bit, which is typically what people do, but then they also kind of fade off the end, right? So if I listen to what it sounds like, I mean, it's not that great because we haven't even got into what the actual music sounds like, right? So let's go back. We can use a feature in here utilizing AI called Remix. So if I grab the Remix tool, I can go back here and then just drag this all the way to suit the length of my video and let go. And this is where AI kicks in, analyzes the audio, finds the patterns in that, and then just stitches it together. So let's just try that one more time. Obviously, it's a very short clip, so it may not like the length of this, but that's okay. Let's listen to what we've got. So you just saw 3 really quick ways to utilize the AI in Premiere Pro today to edit an existing video, to create a new social video from that, and of course, use some audio inside of Adobe Stock with the tool like Remix to remix that audio. So there you have it, moving your brand into video. We've touched on Creative Cloud libraries and how you can utilize that as your creative asset file management system within Creative Cloud applications. We also touched on motion graphics templates and how to use pre-existing ones that have been pre-built by creatives around the world. We even touched on how you can create your own version of that. And then we looked at how you can utilize some really quick AI features inside of Premiere Pro that is existing now that you can really take advantage of to speed up your productivity in video. Thank you so much for joining me on this session. I really hope you got something out of it. If you'd like to follow me on all of the socials, here it is right here. Scan that QR code. It's all there. Instagram, YouTube, and all that. I really hope you got something out of today's session, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great Max.